Think you can't race? Think again. SimAbility is breaking barriers and making sim racing accessible for drivers with disabilities. We're a welcoming iRacing league open to racers with disabilities, along with their friends and supporters of all abilities. Our members represent a wide range of skill levels and experience, from first-timers to seasoned competitors. This is a place to connect, compete, and most importantly, have fun. Racing isn't just about speed, it's about the freedom to compete. At SimAbility, we believe every driver deserves a spot on the grid. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for exciting battles, competitive racing, and great friendships. Join the SimAbility Racing League today.
Hey, welcome back to another Ride Along Jason in our SimAbility Legends Car series. Tonight we're here at Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina. This track reminds me a lot of Kern, Lucas Oil, and somewhat of Gateway, so a mixture of those tracks all together. And this is my first time I'll ever be racing here, so I may be at a little bit of a disadvantage, but I'm thinking that you'll see the guys who were good at Kern, Lucas Oil, I think you'll see those guys up there at the front, since this is a very similar racetrack to those. Alright, coming out of turn 4, going into turn 1. You'll lift right here, let the car rotate, and pick up full throttle by the time you're by the blue sign. Then lift when you see the yellow caution barrels on entrance to pit road. Pick up full throttle by the time you see the red dash. Want to avoid going too low to avoid hitting those white humps. They act like turtles, much like you see on a road course. Ooh, I got loose. I'm battling loose and tight conditions here, so you may see others battle with some handling issues here too. But you'll see the draft come into play, much like you did at Kern and Lucas Oil and the big tracks we've been going to. So I'm Jason Lance, and I hope you enjoy the race.
Folks, and welcome out to the Myrtle Beach Speedway. What you're seeing on your screen down here at the bottom are the turtles, and these have been the talk of the town since we first arrived here and practiced. As you can see from this camera angle, they are very close to the racing surface, and as you saw from the last camera angle, they definitely can upset a car at the height that they're sitting at. Now this is a pretty big track, so expect to see these guys drafting a little bit, getting close in the corners, and even getting into those turtles in said corners. So, like that. So, definitely expect a lot of action. a lot of tight quarters racing, a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing, as these guys take on a tough track in a tough car. We're going to take a quick look at the point standings. And right now your points leader is Dalton Williamson, and he has been sitting comfortably there for quite a while. He is currently 21 points up on the Icy Man, Jason Lance. Stephen Kiefer holding down third. Then Andrew Smith is fourth. Billy Wise has moved up to fifth, with Tom Johnson down to sixth. Johnny Berardi, Don Fisher, Nate Anderson, and Tim Obert are the rest of your top 10. And Anderson has been coming on lately, so let's see if he can't climb up the point standings just a little bit more today as we get ready to go to the starting lineup. Alright, let's take a look at your starting lineup. We're going to be going from the back to the front, and that is going to start us off with the number 1 of Dalton Williamson, your points leader, starting shotgun on the field tonight in that beautiful black number 1 car. Just in front of him, in the Firebird legend, that is Andrew Smith, the number 87, sponsored by SimAbility and Admin Box. Up from there, a familiar face, it's the 99X, Johnny Berardi. He is currently sitting in the top 10 in points. He's had kind of a rough season, looking to turn it around tonight. Up from there, we've got Billy Wise in the 32, that shiny, shiny number 32 Heineken machine. And sporting different colors this week is the number 5. That is Nate Anderson. And that is one sharp-looking car. Up from there, we've got the Rustmobile of Stephen Kiefer, who's been turning up the heat here late in the season. And the number 23 of TJ, Tom Johnson, who's been a steadfast competitor, all season long. The Icy Man, Jason Lance, is your pole sitter in the number 76, and he is looking to make up those 21 points tonight. That is your starting order as we get ready to go here. One last look at these turtles, and you can see their size relative to the cars. They are big and they are ferocious. Alright, everybody's formed up. Now the green flag does come out rather late here, almost all the way to the start-finish line. So these guys are getting bunched up. The heart rates are picking up.
Green flag,
And we're
green
green. Great start for Tom Johnson on the outside. He gets an even start with the 76 there. Couldn't quite capitalize on it, though. He's going to settle into second as Nate Anderson that goes on the inside for third. Kiefer staying up high. Anderson washes up a bit. Little bit of a clinch moment there, but it looks like the two of them did not get together, thankfully. And Lance looking good out front. Just a little bit further back here, if we zoom the camera back, you can see everybody kind of in a big pack. That is Williamson making some big moves in the number 1 on the outside. And he's going after Berardi, the 99X, coming off of turn 4. Gets a little bit of momentum off the top, and he is scored the spot that time by. Almost a little contact between he and Berardi there. As we're going to follow him a bit further, he's sitting in the 5th position currently. And the top 2, or not the top 2, 2nd and 3rd, I should say, are getting pretty close together right now. Anderson has slowly been picking off just a little bit of the interval between he and TJ each lap. TJ having quite the strong run tonight. He's had some difficulty adjusting to these legend cars, but it looks like he's found his footing now. As Anderson looks for the 4th position underneath Cooper, let's try that again. Williamson looks for the 4th position underneath Kiefer. Cooper, I don't know what. So we are about to complete lap number 6. Jason Lance way out in front, and they are battling right up behind him here. 2nd place still TJ Tom Johnson, Nate Anderson 3rd, and Williamson now up to 4th with Kiefer trailing. The one car starting to very slowly eat away at that interval between himself and Anderson. As Anderson's starting to fall back a bit off of TJ. And see a little bit of that momentum there. They're going to get very close going into 3. Anderson getting in a lot deeper, and that does cause you to give up the exit a lot of the time. As a result, sometimes you get on the gas a little hard and have to chase it down the track like he did there, and that is all Williamson needed to pounce on him. He is going to take that spot away. So now Williamson sits in the 3rd position and sets his sights on the 23 of Tom Johnson. Couple positions changing hands further back. Looks like Andrew Smith is up into 6th, Billy Wise into 7th, and Berardi has fallen back into 8th. Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd picking up a little bit more here out of turn 4. Williamson turns up the heat, goes to the bottom. TJ gives him room to operate. And Anderson also trying to sneak in there, perhaps. Well, it looks like Anderson's having a little bit of internet connectivity issues, which could hinder things later in the race. Hopefully that stabilizes, as he's having a great run here in the 4th position. Now, as we've talked about in our previous broadcast, the draft does have an effect here. It should be quite pronounced on a track of this length, and you'd expect such, but from what the drivers were telling me during practice, you don't really feel it as much as you do at other tracks. It is working, but it doesn't quite feel as if it's powerful as it was earlier in the season. Williamson really starting to get away from the number 23 now, as he sets his sights on the number 76. That is the Icy Man, Jason Lance, who has led every lap thus far from the drop of the green. Looks like everybody pretty spread out right now. So we see Berardi back here, and then Wise and up to Smith. Those 3 actually do seem to be slowly catching up to the number 22 here at Rust Machine. He's had a lot of really strong finishes, but he has struggled early in these runs sometimes. Perhaps waiting for the tires to come up to temp or to burn a little bit of fuel off. So as these guys get fully spread out here, this is where how you drive is really... Ooh, there's a turtle! How you drive is really going to affect if you're able to catch people. And if you hit one of those turtles, you're not going to be able to do that too well. Now, of interest with this place is that dotted line that you saw there that our in-car camera with Nate Anderson passed over. That dotted line seems to basically sit on the preferred line here for the big cars, and more or less that is the same in these legend cars. However, if you look at TJ up there, he's got 4 wheels under that dotted line and is using all that real estate on the bottom. And with these cars, you can kind of make it work. There's a little bit less banking down there, but not enough to really mess things up. As we're going to take a ride here with TJ. He goes in the corner. And watch that dotted line all the way under it. And you can hear from the RPMs of the engine, he does have to check up a little bit more than Nate did running up above it, but Nate is not currently catching him by very much, so he may have hit on something here that nobody else has found, and that might be part of what's got him running so close to the front of the field. Let's go up a couple cars and look back from your leader, Jason Lance. He's taking a look at Dalton Williamson out behind that thing. And there's those notorious turtles. And I know I've harped on them a lot, but this really has been the biggest topic of discussion since we got here. They do not play nice with such small cars, as we see both of the top 2 starting to dip below that dotted line there in 4. There's also a decent amount of rubber down there. I've seen all 3 drivers in the top 3 go under there a lot during practice. As we see Jason going all the way down there, almost down to the wall. So there's definitely some speed to be found down there in these legend cars. And this is one of our custom cameras this week, the fender cam. And it is mounted to the rear fender of the car. Gives you a really good look at not only the turtles, but just how low you can run here in 3 and 4 compared to where most of the drivers run. And this is a great tool to see who's running what line as Jason gets into the turtles there just a little bit. You can hear when he backs off, that car really turns. And he's using that to cut down under that dotted line and really making some good time. If we look, that's the pace car. If we look back to Williamson here, let's see what he's doing, because I get the feeling he's doing something a little bit different as he's starting to slowly sneak up on your leader. Now he's lifting a little bit earlier. Ooh. And there you see the results of going underneath that dotted line. The car can get very, very upset. And even drivers as good as Lance and Williamson are not above making mistakes down there on the flat. But if you can make it work, it does seem to pay off quite well. Just kind of want to get that wheel straightened out there as you're coming out of the corner. So as he continues to reel in the leader, we're going to take a quick break for a word from your sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back. 27 laps of 125 complete. You just saw Nate Anderson and TJ get together going into one. Anderson did one heck of a job saving that thing, but has lost all of the momentum he had. He had really done a great job in catching up there. Now he is falling back towards the 87, the 22, and the 32, all of whom are mostly staying in line and drafting, starting to make their way up there. Currently, your top two have kind of plateaued here as far as intervals go. Williamson not gaining or losing very much to the 76. And further back, there's TJ, and cars are really starting to get closer together further back here. Especially the 22 and the 32. And we've seen these two battling all season. That's Billy Wise and Stephen Kiefer. And a bit of a dust up in last week's race. And that definitely does seem to be fresh on the mind of both drivers. Although they are definitely swapping that spot a lot. So it looks like worries have been forgotten by these two as they really start to engage in battle here on lap number 30. Wise trying to use some draft, a little bit of momentum to get up there, and you can see he sucks right up on the back of that 22 car going into the corner. Out of 2, he gets a little bit loose, and he's going to give some of that up. So that may take him a while to reel Kiefer back in, but Kiefer goes wide. And now Wise is looking again. Nothing doing that time, but he is definitely back within striking distance. Coming off the corner, Kiefer's going to get wide again. Goes up over the second dotted line that time. Swinging wide does not seem to work too well at this track in this car, as it has definitely left the door open for Wise, but Wise is having trouble finding grip down on the bottom. As Kiefer almost runs it into the wall down there on the bottom, he's really trying to make something work down there and perhaps keep Wise behind him, force him to use the top. Wise says, I don't think so. Dives to the bottom going into turn number 1, but nothing doing as they come out of turn number 2. Here's Johnny Berardi behind them, and there is your lead battle. The reason we've returned to that is, as you can see, the cars are closer together. Here comes Williamson. He's taking a look here. Lap 36 going away, and we may have a lead change on our hands. They almost get together in one. I don't know how they kept that off each other. Lance continues to lead. Williamson right on his back bumper. Williamson now trying the high side here, going into one. That does not quite seem to be working for him. Although he does get a massive run on exit by coming down the track a little bit. And with that draft, he's going to get even closer. Let's see how this looks coming down the front stretch. He is there, folks. Lap number 38. He's going to go to the top again, probably turn it down mid-corner and try to get underneath Lance, but Lance is going to defend that bottom. And now Lance working the very, very bottom all the way down by the wall, trying to defend the inside because that is a very good place for a pass to take place, and he knows that, so he's got to play defense right now. Williamson lurking, thinking about looking up high. And he is going to try that up high move in number one again, trying to cross down to the bottom. That doesn't quite seem to be paying off this time, Bias. He lost a lot of time to Lance in the 76. Meanwhile, Andrew Smith, Nate Anderson going at it for the fourth position. Anderson gets way wide, gets into the wall. He's into Smith. Smith is spinning. Do we get a yellow? There is the yellow flag. You saw it here. No replay required. Look like they ran out of racing room. All right. We'll be back with the restart.
Think you can't race? Think again. SimAbility is breaking barriers and making sim racing accessible for drivers with disabilities. We're a welcoming iRacing league open to racers with disabilities, along with their friends and supporters of all abilities. Our members represent a wide range of skill levels and experience, from first-timers to seasoned competitors. This is a place to connect, compete, and most importantly, have fun. Racing isn't just about speed, it's about the freedom to compete. At SimAbility, we believe every driver deserves a spot on the grid. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for exciting battles, competitive racing, and great friendships. Join the SimAbility Racing League today.
Quick update here under caution. Everybody coming down for fuel. These cars were running out around lap 106 in qualifying / practice earlier in the day, so that does mean that they're going to want to take a little bit of fuel, and this is a perfect opportunity. We're not going to see any fuel woes late in the race as long as everybody fills their car up. And it looks like the whole field, in fact, has come down. So we'll see who gets out first and how things shake out. We'll be back.
Hey Jacob, where would be a really cool place to see one of our SimAbility products?
How about the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina?
So big thanks to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and going above and beyond in setting up this ADA compliant simulator, and thanks for choosing SimAbility.
Alright, the pace car is off, field forming up again. Jason Lance maintains the lead. It's Kiefer to his outside, then TJ, and we're already going all the way back here in turn number 4. I don't think everyone was ready for that, but that is the privilege you have as the leader. You get to go when you want to. And Lance absolutely making a great show of it, coming down the front straightaway. Williamson, meanwhile, took tires. I do believe he and Johnny Berardi were the only two cars to do that. Berardi ended up trapped a lap down, and Williamson did not, as we got some serious battling going on down the front chute here. Wise considers getting in behind the one car, and he is going to commit to it. Kiefer trying to make that top work. He gets a little loose there, catches the car. Wise now on the attack. And this is for 2nd through 6th. As they are also right there behind TJ. Williamson has worked his way up into 3rd. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th still battling back here. Andrew Smith, Stephen Kiefer side by side again as Williamson goes after TJ. And he runs right down around the bottom of the track. Going wide out of turn 4 is the 32 car of Billy Wise. He's going to catch it, but that is going to give Andrew Smith the advantage going into 1. He capitalizes on it. He's not clear yet, though. And now Kiefer looking to swap to the bottom lane, trying to follow Smith through. Around goes Billy Wise. And we're under yellow again. Looks like he just got the throttle just a little bit too much there coming out of the corner. So we'll reset things and we'll be right back once again. Getting ready to go green once more. Jason Lance and Dalton Williamson, the front row. Second row is TJ and Andrew Smith. Back from there, you've got Stephen Kiefer, Billy Wise, Nate Anderson, and Johnny Berardi. All cars are on the lead lap. Pace car is off, and Lance gets to the loud pedal early once again. TJ working that bottom line. He might actually be able to get by Williamson here going into 1. See if it sticks on the bottom. They both give each other plenty of room, but it looks like Williamson's going to shake out with the spot. And now TJ under attack from Andrew Smith going into turn number 3. Smith gets a great run in there, pushes up a bit in the center. TJ rolling with the momentum on the outside, and he's going to hold on to the 3rd spot as things start to get a little bit spicy up front for the lead. These top 2 already taking the rest of the field to Gapplebee's as we come off of turn number 4. And Williamson once again finds himself in this same position as TJ's under attack for 3rd again. It doesn't go, but as I was saying, Williamson once again finds himself stuck behind a car he can't pass. It's very, very difficult to make an outside move here, especially on a driver as good as Jason Lance. He's going to have to go to the bottom, and he does going into turn 1. Catches Lance sleeping. Through the center and off. Lance still has it going into 3. Williamson buries that car down by the inside fence. And they're going to be almost a dead heat at the stripe here. Looks like Lance was... Nope. Williamson was scored as the leader that time. And he's going to pull him here coming off turn 2 unless... Yes, there's the momentum from Jason Lance. He pulls alongside him going into turn number 3. Lance and Williamson once again dead heat at the stripe. You'd have to have a photo to call that one, as back to 3rd goes Andrew Smith. I should say for the first time to 3rd goes Andrew Smith. He had been buried in the field earlier tonight, and he is now mounting a charge heading for these top 2. Williamson going to lead lap number 60 as we approach halfway. The Icy Man not quite done with him yet. These 3 starting to spread out, so the battle remains with the top 2. Riding on board with the Icy Man, Jason Lance here. Ooh, right up into that bumper. A little bit of that old iRacing graphical clipping there, if you were curious just how close these 2 are getting on the racetrack. Yellow is out once again. We'll investigate what that was, and we'll be right back after this break. Well, folks, the Turtles strike again. Watch Andrew Smith here through turns 1 and 2. The leaders, there he is, and you can see him really get just a full hit on those Turtles. And from our stationary camera in turn number 2, here he is sitting 3rd. Gets those Turtles, and around he goes. He takes TJ with him. A lot of great driving by their drivers avoiding the catastrophe. And one last view here from the back straightaway. There's the hit on the turtles. There's the contact between those two, and yikes! Oh my goodness! Nate Anderson making it through there by the skin of his teeth. We'll be back with the restart. So a few things changing here. Lance went in, got himself some rear tires, and he has ended up at the rear of the field as a result. And that puts Williamson clean and green out front, but he's got Stephen Kiefer to deal with on the high side. And it's Billy Wise and both TJ and Nate Anderson who survived that accident. As you can see, TJ still blinking a bit. These guys having a little bit of trouble getting bunched up. Anderson hanging back. We're watching Williamson. He hits the loud pedal. And coming off of turn number 4, he is way out front. It is definitely his race right now going into 1, but Jason Lance trying to make it back to the front in short order. Went 3 wide there for a moment going into 1. He works the inside of Tom Johnson. Meanwhile, up ahead, Kiefer and Wise getting very, very close going into 3. No contact made. Wise holds down second on lap 67. And oh boy, it's getting weird back here. We almost went 3 wide again with Anderson, Smith, and TJ. As Wise continues to try and hold on the bottom there to that second spot. TJ goes way up wide. And they're 2 wide, 2 deep coming down the front stretch. Flying in formation into turn number 1. The Icy Man trying to get back up into that second position. He's gotten by Kiefer, he's gotten by Smith, he's gotten by Anderson and even TJ. But he is struggling getting by Billy Wise here as they come off 4. Wise gets wide though. And all the way to the bottom goes Lance. He's going to take the spot away, and Smith says, me too. Not quite going to work out for him though. Although further back we see Anderson getting a run on Kiefer. They almost touch wheels there. Coming out of 4, Jason Lance back into second. Billy Wise currently third, but that is going to change over to Smith, who, uh-oh. And we stay green. That was an amazing piece of driving out of both Smith as well as Kiefer. Now, Kiefer's bumpers probably tore up just, yep, there's the damage to it. So, hopefully neither of these drivers bent suspension components, but that could have been a lot worse than it was. So, let's take a look at where things are after that. Williamson, your leader. There's Lance in second. Billy Wise now holds down third. Nate Anderson behind him. Then it's TJ Andrew Smith. The 99X of Berardi and Kiefer, who has fallen all the way back to the rear of the field at the moment. TJ looks like he might have gotten one of the turtles there, and that's going to give Smith a shot at getting one of his spots back. TJ gets a great run off the outside going into 3. Not quite enough, though. Smith's going to hold on to that spot. Your top 3 currently: Williamson, Lance, Wise. This is lap 74 going away here, as we watch Billy Wise attempt to hold off a pack of hungry cars behind him. Smith looks like he got a little bit loose there. Oh, a little bit more loose. That car may not be handling the way he wants it to handle. As now Wise is under attack, this time from Nate Anderson in the 5. Anderson looking low into 1. Will it stick? Well, so far so good, but the momentum does favor the outside. And here comes Billy Wise back. They are wheel to wheel going into turn number 3. Wise driving the wheels off that thing, but it's not going to be enough to hold on to the spot. You can move the number 5 up to third for that lap. TJ also poking his nose in there. Was going to take a look at the 32 of Wise, but lost momentum through the center. And that is going to leave it all to the number 5 of Anderson. Meanwhile, back behind them, we've got a heck of a three-car battle going on. All three of these drivers have had all sorts of problems this race. Berardi got trapped a lap down early, got back on the lead lap thanks to a lucky dog. You've seen what's been happening to Smith, and earlier in this run, it also happened to Stephen Kiefer. And now it's Billy Wise going for a spin off turn 4, and he smacks the wall hard. We're yellow once again as he gets that thing turned around. We'll be back.
Hey, Jacob, where would be a really cool place to see one of our SimAbility products?
How about the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina?
So, big thanks to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and going above and beyond in setting up this ADA compliant simulator, and thanks for choosing SimAbility.
Getting ready to go back green once again. Your leader is the number 1. That's Dalton Williamson, doing what he's been doing all night long. Alright, he's lined up next to the 76 of Jason Lance. And there's TJ and Nate Anderson. Berardi all the way up there to 5th with the 22 of Kiefer on the outside. We're green. Great start for Dalton Williamson. And he gets a huge advantage going down the front straightaway. Little bit of a cross up there, going for the 3rd position into turn number 1 was TJ. It looked like Anderson kind of slid up the track a little bit there. He was able to keep it under control. TJ had to back out of it, as now Kiefer might have made a little contact there. He's going to go wide. And they're fighting hard back here, Berardi and Smith, as TJ catches a turtle. Berardi's going to come up on his outside. And it is tough to make something work here, but he's trying. He gets a great run through 3 all the way up to the center. Car's going to go a little bit wide here. Smith commits to the bottom behind TJ. Thinks about the middle. And he is also going to complete that pass. Meanwhile, up front, the leader's getting very close once again. And it looked like it was all over but the crying after that restart. But wow, that 76, Jason Lance, really making up a lot of ground here on your leader as these 3 continue to fight further back here. We're approaching the end of this thing, and the temperature is definitely rising. Definitely a little bit of agitation on some of the drivers' parts. And they are running hard right now. It looks almost like the number 1 was carrying the left front tire going through 3 and 4. Lance looking down low, nothing doing just yet. There's that left tire in the air again for the number 1. He is really putting the pedal to the metal here. I could suggest he has a very unique spring setup on that number 1 machine. As the 76 gets underneath him, catches him sleeping going into 1. He's going to take the spot. And Williamson is going to get some big momentum and big draft going down the back stretch. He saves that for later on, but does stay right up on the back bumper of the 76. This would be where he makes his move. And it looks like Lance now defending the bottom. This is great news for Anderson, number 5. He is catching up to these 2 and has got them within his sights. We'll see if he can keep up as these guys really start throwing haymakers at each other. To the outside goes Williamson. You can see he backed off very, very late going to the corner there. That's what that little flash of flame underneath the car is. That is a backfire, unburned fuel in the exhaust. That's how you can always tell when somebody backs off in a race car. To the top he goes again, and I don't think he's attempting to pass up there. I do believe that is just his entry into turn 1, trying to build momentum as both he and the 76 glance off the wall. Since Lance is pinching it down on entry, that's about Williamson's only option, is to enter a little bit higher and just try to get better momentum through the center, perhaps root him up off the bottom on exit. And of course, with all those turtles lurking down there in 1 and 2, things can get pretty crazy pretty quick here if you're defending the bottom. Or
Caution,
trying to
yellow
pass
flag.
on it as the yellow comes out again, lap 92. We'll see what happened and be right back. So a lot of different storylines unfolding here under the caution. Stephen Kiefer ended up getting black flagged earlier. He's currently still 2 laps down. Andrew Smith gets his car going again after a stint in the pits to get that thing repaired. We go green once more, and Jason Lance gets to the loud pedal first.
Green, green,
He doesn't
green.
get as big of an advantage as we're used to seeing, though. Williamson hanging right there with him, and he's going to swing in for big momentum going into 1 and 2. Back from there, TJ once again mounting a charge after the number 5 of Nate Anderson. Williamson all over the back of that 76. And it looks like really the best move for him is going to be trying to get down in the center of the corner there and get under him as we approach lap 100. The thing almost looked like it was going to over-rotate there in 3 and 4, but boy did he ever get a big run coming out of there. Almost gets up alongside Lance. Lance washes up wide, and this is exactly what Williamson needed. That big swing in from the top down to the bottom gets him underneath the 76 going into 3. He's got his nose out front. And at the stripe, give it back to Williamson on lap number 100. There are 25 laps left to go. You can see Anderson back there trying to figure out which one of these guys to go with. And they are not giving each other a whole lot of room, just enough to race. Anderson really starting to get closer, and as the Icy Man washes up wide, that is going to completely turn it over to Williamson in the 1. So these top 3 cars have broken away from the rest of the field. Williamson loose coming out of 4. He chased that thing up the hill, and now he has got a mirror full of the Icy. Well, the Icy Man, or perhaps the Icy Bear that is also depicted on that car. He's got a mirror full of Icy. We'll go with that. Icy, a close battle for the top 3 as we watch the number 5 here try to keep up with these two. Let's ride along with him. This is Nate Anderson's on board here going through turns 1 and 2. We can see just how loose the number 1 is getting. He does seem to have that thing under control, and loose is fast, but it definitely looks a little bit scary, especially from this close. And now it's Williamson washing up. Can the 76 capitalize? Not quite. And nose to tail going into turn number 3. Anderson running just a bit of a higher line. Trying to figure out what to do with these two, and these two are all over each other. So this is a great opportunity for Anderson to pounce in case anything goes a little bit silly here. This is lap 106 going away, 20 to go. Deep into the corner goes Anderson. He's going to lose some momentum through the center. You saw how close he got to them, and then the car just stops turning. This time he's getting a lot closer to them, though. Car doesn't wash up. He doesn't go too deep in the corner. He does get a little loose on exit. Lance to the bottom. Anderson to the top now. Perhaps trying to follow that number 1. Lap 107 going away. Top 3 cars way, way out in front of TJ in 4th, who's all by himself. Here goes Lance to the bottom for the lead again. As Anderson gets way, way wide in turn 1. Probably getting in there a little bit deeper because of that draft. He's probably not used to having quite that much speed entering the corner. Uh-oh. And there goes his internet again. That could play havoc with the race for the lead late in the going here. Cross your fingers that it doesn't, as Lance gets just a little bit crossed up coming off of turn 2. Alright, the number 1 Williamson back to running that line where he goes in wide and comes off low. He does stay up a little bit higher this time, as Lance once again chasing that car just a little bit. Does seem to be mostly under control, but you do scrub speed if you get too sideways. On the attack again goes the number 1. Get some good momentum off turn number 2. And Anderson once again starts pulling up close to these two at the front of the field. Looks like Lance is not going to give up the bottom. He is fighting hard to keep that car plastered down there, no matter what, even if he has to really check up on the brakes there, which he definitely did, and that also caused Williamson to have to check up. Anderson once again getting into turn 1 just a little bit hotter than he might like to, and he's going to fall back a ways as these two get side by side again. And if Lance won't give up the bottom, you know what they say, you can't pass him by following him, so to the top goes the number 1 of Williamson. Dead heat at the line. Lance scored the leader, but barely. Between the two of them, Williamson faster that time by with a 21.8 to the 21.9 of Lance. Here they come again, and it's going to be a dead heat a second time. Lance with just a bit of a nose out front. Boy, the momentum off 2 really is doing a lot of favors for that number 1 car. It's just very hard for him to capitalize because Lance is playing fantastic defense all the way through 3 and 4. Oh, this is one of the best runs that Williamson's had yet. He can't quite capitalize. He just cannot find a way around the 76. He's got to try and get under him, and I think he's thinking about it. He's got to keep him very, very close and just get that magic run where he can come up alongside him without the 76 noticing. Here he goes into 3. And he is right down there on that wall, mowing that little bit of grass that grows down there, but it pays off as he leads lap number 118. They're coming up on the 32 of Billy Wise. Loose gets Williamson. 76 pulls up alongside him once again. And Williamson at the stripe has the lead. Oh, this is a nail-biter, folks. Especially with this traffic up here, they are going to be drafting off that. They've got Anderson right there. We're going to go 3 wide. Lance barely holding on that outside. That was the middle there for a second. He is clinging to life here on that outside groove. Gets a decent run off too. And the roles are reversed now. Now it is Lance trying to get by Williamson, who's playing defense on the bottom. One role that has not changed. Number 5, Nate Anderson, still trying to find a way around these two. Not too many laps left to go in this thing, and we're still side by side going into turn number 3 on lap 121 of 125. Now remember, they have to cross the stripe for 126 for it to be the finish. So if the math sounds funny that there's 4 laps to go here, I know, but that's what iRacing does. sparks off the 76 as he catches the wall coming out of turn 2. 3 laps to go for Williamson, who is now clear on the bottom. And here comes Nate Anderson. Woo! Almost got under Lance. Lance barely able to defend. And now he's got to think about more than going on the attack after the number 1. He's got to defend because Nate Anderson is there. To the bottom goes Lance. This is his best shot he's had yet. And he's going to hole shot him through 1 and 2. Back to the bottom looks Williamson. He's there. It's going to be tight, folks. This is the white flag here. We are at a dead heat once again. And they make contact going into 1. Both of them go around. Anderson's around. And the 1, Williamson keeps it going. A flying 360 for Anderson. He's barely holding on to 3rd. But it is going to be Dalton Williamson who recovers the best from that contact. Through 3 and 4, he slides. He's going to hold on to it. Your winner, Dalton Williamson, with the 76 of Lance, 2nd. Nate Anderson, 3rd. TJ comes home 4th. And I do believe Johnny Berardi is going to be 5th, as Kiefer was still a lap down. So a lot of craziness at the end of this. As we look at the standings here. Yes, that is Johnny Berardi coming home 5th. Andrew Smith in 6th. Billy Wise comes home 7th. We saw him get lapped right there at the end. And then Stephen Kiefer 8th. So that is going to do it for us here from Myrtle Beach, Land of the Turtles. I hope you enjoyed that. That was definitely an exciting last lap. And we're probably going to see some very interesting changes in the point standings further down. A lot of drivers having fantastic finishes tonight. So, for Johnny Berardi, this is Leilani Wilson. We'll see you next time.